Happy Monday, one and all. Welcome back. Episode 3, Flamescast. Yourself, Neil, with me. I did some Monday. Myself, Kyle, along with Neil here. Getting my words
What an
all
intro.
jumbled, but we're back. I know, I'm so good at
Got
this.
that Monday energy on point. Let's go.
We're back. Nothing crazy kind of happening over the last couple of days, but still kind of working our way through preseason a little bit here as we got about 3 games to go before everything's kind of set and done, and a couple more cuts were made, and we're kind of coming down to the nitty gritty a little bit on who's going to be on this final roster and who's impressed and who hasn't. So yeah, we'll kind of fly right into it, but good weekend overall, Neil. Everything good?
Yeah, no, good weekend for me. A lot of sports watching, from football to the WNBA playoffs. Just got underway in the second round. A little bit of preseason hockey. Yeah, no, can't complain. Got to see the Klapka, as I said. Well, it wasn't a clapper, to be fair. It was just a wrist shot, but I felt like it was too perfect not to.
It'll happen at some
It's
point.
going to happen. It was a nice goal. Kind of bad read by the goaltender there, but from that far out with no traffic in front. But that's
It'll be
preseason
nice.
in a nutshell.
Pretty much. We'll get
Pretty
into the
much.
Ram line and stuff too that they mentioned
The
over the
Ram line,
weekend.
yeah. I
But
love
yeah,
that.
let's dive right into it yet again. Yeah, so game happens Saturday. Flames looking to bounce back after a loss from the Canucks the other night, and they did respond with a big win on Saturday. Just a couple of quick notes. Daniel Vladar only ended up playing 2 periods. Devin Cooley going into the third in goal for the Flames. A couple of notable mentions too. Samuel Honzek really being the star of the show, I think, for Saturday night's game. He was really attacking on all of the corners. He was playing with a lot of speed. He was very physical, something that the Flames kind of wanted to see, and hence why they picked him in the first place. You just mentioned Klapka coming in, bringing the boom, coming on that fourth line, playing alongside Lomberg, and I believe it was Kevin Rooney at the time as well too. So yeah, and then Paschal trying to make his case as well too, to try to maybe be that 6th D-man coming in. Blake Coleman getting onto the board here this preseason, and yeah, overall it was a good showing. Again, wins and losses don't mean a lot come preseason time, but I think there's 2 things I want to kind of take away from this, and then I want your thoughts on it. So I think the fourth line is really starting to solidify itself here, and that's something that I think a lot of Flames fans are excited about. With Klapka coming in, bringing that physical presence, Ryan Lomberg coming in to bring that physical presence, whether it be Kevin Rooney coming in and out, whether Postiso goes in on that line, which I think would work really well. Offensively physical, that line could be something that a lot of Flames fans could be excited about. But I think my bigger takeaway from Saturday is this, and it kind of dawned on me this morning. With a lot of guys who are specifically playing well this preseason in terms of points, in terms of being physical, with their speed, all that. There's one thing that really jumped out to me, though. Jacob Pelletier's time is running out to try to crack this roster. Coronado's playing very well. I imagine Zari is probably playing on that second line come opening night. Postiso's going to be somewhere on that roster. Klapka's making a statement now. I'm not sure if there is going to be room for Jacob Pelletier to crack this roster. You have to reward Coronado for kind of what he's been able to do this preseason. And, with Pelletier, I understood he was coming off injuries and all that, but, throughout even last year where he had some struggles here and there, and, you haven't really seen much of him this preseason. You got to start rewarding some of these younger guys with their performances this preseason so far. And, I don't know where Pelletier fits into this. That's not to say he won't play this season, but in terms of just the opening night roster, it's going to be difficult for him to kind of crack this lineup. And we'll kind of dive into it a bit more with some final cuts and predictions here and there. But, was there anything that you kind of took away from this past weekend, these past couple of days, and maybe some other guys that stood out to you?
Well, to kind of go back to what you were saying about Pelletier, I'll take it a step further and say I don't think he really has any chance at this point. I think his opportunity was this last game against Vancouver. Other than the 2 hits, not much of really anything. 15 shifts wasn't very noticeable, to be honest. And I think with you mentioned like the way Coronado's playing, and we talked about it last week about Coronado's really making a good push right now. I think Pelletier, it's going to be hard. And I know that the Flames are promoting a new series that they're doing inside of training camp, which I think debuts today. I think
I think, yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for that.
tomorrow.
We'll talk about it, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's going to be fun. They posted a trailer this morning. Is that Ryan Huskett talked about, and Craig Conroy as well, about it's all about competition here. This is what it's all about. And Peltier is one of those guys that, from a competitive standpoint, from a competition standpoint, he hasn't really stood out, I think, the way that I'm sure he would want. And I think that it's not going to be as tough of a decision with him, but it's going to be hard to see him on this roster come opening night. Again, the thing that really stood out to me when looking at just how how everything went down is, and I know I keep talking about him, but again, Devin Cooley did play one period, and he stopped all 10 shots that he saw. I really would like to hope that they keep him moving forward. And even if he's obviously, I think carrying three goaltenders is not a good idea. Just ask teams like Montreal or whomever. But I definitely could see him being a guy that maybe further along the season, depending on Vladard's situation, could be a guy that could be a really solid backup to Dustin Wolf. So that was one thing. I like the way he plays the game, honestly. Paschal, I thought, was the guy that really stood out the most to me. Goal and assist in this one. Really kind of surprised me, honestly, because he's had a solid camp, but like this was definitely that game where I feel like it really cemented maybe his position on the team and really got it going. The fourth line, I think, is going to be the identity of this roster, and I know that's kind of weird to say when you look at the top six and some of the young guys that we have, but I think the fourth line is going to be what describes this Flames team moving forward as a tough nose team that's just going to be competitive in every game and is going to try to grind you out. And that's why I think bringing in Longberg was such a good move, because he fits that so very well. You saw what he did with Florida, and you can see what he does now here in Calgary. And he seems to really enjoy being with the Flames, which I think is also a breath of fresh air, Kyle, honestly. If you look at the last couple of years, I think it's a breath of fresh air to have guys that want to be there, that want to be here, that want to be a part of this team, want to make an impact with this team. And you're seeing it from guys like Longberg. So those are some of the things from that game that really, really stood out. I'm just glad that Daniel Sprong didn't beat us in overtime this time around.
Yeah, that's right. No kidding. I mean,
They actually,
and you
did you
said it.
notice how much they were keeping an eye on him during the
Oh,
game?
totally. They were
I
like,
was like,
"You're not again. We're not letting
I
this
was
happen
like,
again."
even though we had more of an NHL roster this time, they were like, yeah, we're not
Yeah.
letting you have your
No.
moment today.
No, totally.
So,
Yeah, like that fourth line. I mean, listen, they're going to lose a lot of games this year, right? Like, and that's a good thing,
you think
right?
maybe
Right. They
yeah,
might lose, but it's going
we're
to be
gonna have
difficult to
fun
beat
doing
this
it?
team. Where they're going to have so much fun doing it. That might be the case, and I think they're just going to enjoy the ride, right? And
That could be
Longberg, you
the
see what
mantra for the year, by the way. Just enjoy the ride.
it probably will be with these guys.
Just yeah,
They're gonna beat the crap out of everybody that they see. They might lose, and that's okay, but
I'd
you're
love
not
a
gonna
fight
have
every
fun
game. I'd
doing it.
love some form of a fight or like just a big
Sure,
hit. Just
they're
just
gonna,
give
and we
other
saw it on the weekend. I was gonna say we saw it on Saturday with Connor Garland kind of sucker punching Connor Zari, and all of a sudden this fourth line comes out, and you see
just like
Klapka now all
hanging
of a
up
sudden with
on
a big hit, and that's what I mean, right? Like
Mhm.
you're gonna bully some of our younger guys. You're gonna have to deal with 6'8", 235-pound Klapka along with Ryan Lomberg, and who knows what they're gonna put beside him,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So and you're right. Maybe that is the mantra going into the year with the
Yep.
with the kind of identity of this team, and
Yeah.
the way that you mentioned that with the trailer that came out with a little bit more behind the scenes in that it is a competition. It's
It
massive
is.
competition, right? Like you don't know what young guys are going to crack this roster. We have no idea what this top six is still going to be, right? Come
For
opening
sure.
night, we'll kind of dive into that a bit more. You got three goaltenders. You don't know, yeah, Wolf could probably be your number 1A, but I don't think it's solidified that, Vladar is all of a sudden 1B. Devin Cooley, you got to give him credit. He's playing very well. And going into tonight, Vladar is going to be playing a full 60 minutes tonight with Cooley backing him up. But yeah, there's a lot of question marks as to what this final roster could look like, and that's a really good thing to have because they said it in the trailer, man. It's competition. You want to earn it, go get it.
Mhm.
And I think that's it's a great thing to have for this team who wants to fight for their spot to be here. And a lot of people have stuff to prove going into the next couple of games into the next week as we approach opening night.
Absolutely. And I'm really
Yeah,
hoping that Honzek makes this roster because we talked about him last week and I'm sure that was probably the
I was
next
going to
thing.
bring him up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you want to start it off, I'll just kind of finish what I was saying
Yeah,
before.
no, I mean, I'll go quick. Like, yeah, with Honzek, I mean, this is a guy that you wanted to see establish himself this year, coming off of the injuries last year, and then he kind of came back and just wasn't really working, wasn't really fitting into the lineup, and especially through his junior time, he was just struggling to come back from that injury. But now you see him in this preseason, and outside of Matthew Coronado, he might have been the most impressive player this preseason, right? And I mentioned it a bit earlier for what he was able to do on Saturday, showing the speed that he has, the physicality, him battling really hard in these corners too, and that's something that Conroy and Ryan Huska mentioned it too in the presser afterwards, that he was really impressed with and that he was happy to see. So you might have to make the case that he's going to definitely play some pro minutes this year, but it's a lot of back and forth of where he's going to end up. I think at some point, like, again, this is all hypotheticals with a lot of these young guys trying to make this team, but at some point, you're going to see these guys play a game here or there this season, right? You're going to see Pelchier, you're going to see Honzek, you're going to see Prushewitz, and the list goes on, right? But specifically with Honzek, it's just nice to see that, we're starting to finally get why we picked him 16th overall in 2023. And
23?
That's just something that we'd like to see. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on Honzek?
He is, in my opinion, the most interesting player in camp because I think that he's one of those guys that you were hoping would make an impact in camp and kind of stand out, and it's working out very well. And the best thing you could do as a young player is make it really hard on an organization to cut you, even if you have absolutely zero experience in the NHL. If you can do that, and if you can last this far into training camp, even if you get cut after tonight's game, I think Honzek can leave with his head held up high and say, let me go down to the AHL, let me start my professional career, and let me develop from there. And I really would like to see him on the team to start when we get to opening night. I understand it if the Flames don't want to do that. But again, on a rebuilding team, it doesn't hurt to have some young players, especially if they're the ones that are living up to what Huska and Conroy are talking about when it comes to constant competition. If Honzek is leading that competition, I don't see a reason to send him down to the AHL right away. You might give
Right.
him a cup of coffee in the NHL. Maybe you give him 5, 10 games. And if you feel like he needs some more seasoning, then you send him down. But if you give him that opportunity right away, who knows what could happen? He might jump into the lineup and immediately start rocking and rolling. Who knows? He's the guy that I'm the most excited about. Even if it doesn't mean he gets on the team this year, I'm very excited to see what he can bring because I think he's slowly developing his game.
I totally agree. And you just want to see the trend, right? It's
Right.
just baby steps, and you just want to see it kind of, progress as we go further. Another thing I wanted to bring up that I had written down was we haven't really talked much about the defenseman, which I think is another really big story in this camp, right? You've got you got Anderson, you got Uyghur, you got, potentially Miramanoff, Kevin Ball coming in, and Jake Bean, who will definitely see some minutes this year, who are more than likely, from reports that I've read and heard and all that fun stuff, that's probably going to be the 5 that you're going to see on opening night.
Sure.
A lot of question marks about number 6. You brought up Braden Paschal earlier on, who did have a great night on Saturday. He did record a goal. That's great. I don't know what the kind of identity they want to have with the 5 and 6 there on defense, whether James back there or whoever, Miramanoff, however it works out. But there's a lot of guys still fighting for that 6th spot. And I don't, the more we talked about it earlier on with Tyson Barrie now on a PTO, I don't know if he makes this team, man. I don't know. I think there's a lot of competition. Jared Tenorti too, another big body who maybe hasn't really showcased his skills yet, maybe in the preseason, hasn't really shown up. But, there's just a lot of room. There's a lot of guys back there, really only one spot left to put on this roster. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Jake Bean doesn't make this opening night, even though you just signed him this offseason. Maybe Miramanoff isn't on. I don't know, right? We don't know how it's all going to shape out. But I'm finding it really hard to believe that Tyson Barrie is going to continue with this team because I haven't heard much from him during this preseason. It's been very quiet on his end, and I think it's going to be difficult for him to kind of be that number 6 guy on this roster. So I don't know. I mean, Paschal, you said he made his case. What do you make on what that kind of those 6 could look like come opening night?
Yeah, I mean it's tough because I think the Flames are in a situation where they have to make a choice as to, like you said, what are they going to do with that 5 and 6 role? Like, what do they want that pairing to be? If they want it to be more of an offensive pairing, then I would lean towards Tyson Barrie because of the experience. He's not an offensive defenseman per se, but he does bring a little bit of that. So there is that. If you want to be more of a physical, like 5 and 6, which I feel like is a typical way that most teams go about it, Tenorti, although again, just similar to Barrie, not doing a whole lot, maybe makes more sense. I can't really. I'm about as stumped as you are, Kyle. I really don't know what to make of it because, again, we talk about competition. There isn't a lot. A
Right.
lot of guys are stuck in the same position and not standing out from the crowd. Now, fortunately, we do have tonight's game, and there's how many games do we have left? We have 2 or
We got
3?
3 games. We got 3 games left. Yeah.
I don't think you make that decision until the end of the final game. I really think it would. I think it would behoove of Conroy and Huska to wait until the very last minute to make that call because it's
Right.
not really like a major position, right? It's not like we're looking at who's the starting netminder or who's going to be on that top 6. We're talking about who's going to be on that third pairing defense. I think Jake Bean makes the team. Like you said,
Yeah.
otherwise, why would you sign him? Because I think
Yeah,
Jake Bean
exactly.
was better than what Tyson Barrie or Tenorti or anyone can bring. Kevin Ball, I think, is going to be on that second pairing, at least, or maybe on the third, depending on what they see fit.
Yep.
Probably on the third, I think, to start because he's just getting back from injury. But yeah, maybe I prefer
It's a tough one.
Tyson Barrie, but
Yeah.
again, what is he doing? Not much.
Haven't
So,
heard much. That's the issue, right?
and you might look at it this way, Kyle. Just look at it this way. Let's say, for all intents and purposes, you keep Barry, right, and you sign him off of a PTO. There are probably teams out there contending wise that may look at Tyson Barrie like we saw last year at the deadline, where like they may give up a late round pick for him. And
Problem
so
is
now
he
when
has.
you turn a
Problem
PTO
is
into
that
a pick,
right. But
not
the
against
thing
him.
is, that is okay. Yes, you have to bring him on. He's probably at this rate, from what we've seen, he's not going to get top 4 minutes. I doubt
No.
it. I think he's going to play bottom 6, right?
And I think he knows that too. I think he knows
Sure,
he's
and you
not.
have to, with that, like you have to hope that there's something there in these next 40, 50 games before the deadline, right? And because if there isn't, I don't know. So I don't think a team, I don't know, like why would I as a general manager give up a 6th or 7th round pick when these guys just got him off a PTO and this is just kind of what we're expecting from
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Maybe I take my risk at at the draft, and maybe there is a 6th or 7th rounder who all of a sudden comes out of nowhere, like a Kucherov, right?
Yeah.
Like just as an example. But I think it'd be very difficult to try to find value for him come deadline, right? I think he just wants to play. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough to figure out what that bottom 6 is going to look like, and slowly we're going to find out in these next couple of days.
Absolutely.
You do have something here, it looks like, on Samuel Honzek, though.
Yeah, no, it's just his stats. Again, on NHL, on their NHL, on the page he has on his on the Flames have for him. I mean, they don't really have anything other than like what he's done up until now. And I think I brought this up last week. Like, again, he played in just 2 games for the Wranglers last year. Didn't do anything, but granted, it was like at the end of the year. He is coming off a decent year with the Vancouver Giants: 10 goals, 21 assists for 31 points. This is a guy that I could think develop into a 20-goal scorer personally. And it's just going to be interesting to see how many more opportunities he gets this preseason. I think if I'm the Flames, I think I give him every opportunity possible.
And he will. And he will.
Yeah.
Yeah, he absolutely will. Last tidbit here before we go to a little bit of a break. Andrew Basha recently, as of yesterday. I think it was yesterday, if I'm not
Yesterday,
mistaken.
last night. It was last
Did
night.
sign. He got on. He's now signed an entry level deal with Flames, the 3-year typical deal. He plays out of Medicine Hat in the WHL. Happened to score. He's got 2 goals already this past weekend with the Tigers, or something along those lines. But yeah, Andrew Basha now signing his contract extension, or excuse me, and an entry level extension. My mistake, with the Flames. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited to have him on, man. I think this was a really good pick. I'm surprised a lot of teams kind of passed by him, and I can't wait for him to light up the WHL this year. Yeah, just whatever it says there, 3-year entry level deal, 880.
3-year deal, just under 900,000, which is the typical entry level contract. I
Yeah.
thought he was taller than 5'11".
That's okay though. I mean, for a goal scorer, I mean, still, it's good to stay down low. And he typically, like from what I saw in the highlights there this past weekend with Basha, he stayed in front of the net, he stayed low, and he's getting those greasy garbage kind of rebound goals, and that's okay, and that's how it works for him. So, yeah, I don't know if you have anything on Basha, but I'm happy that he's sticking around or they signed him to that 3-year entry level deal, and I'm excited to see how he develops.
I guess that hit that he laid on, I forgot who it was in the last preseason game. I guess that earned him his contract.
They were like, yep, that's going to do it.
Yeah, that's going to do it. No, man, he's really an underrated prospect, I think, in the Flame system. Like you mentioned, he's coming off a really good year at Medicine Hat, over 80 points. He had 30 goals, 55 assists in not even a full season. He was out for a period of time with an injury. So if you think about it, if he played a full season, he might be pushing 35, 40 goals with the way he plays.
And he might not be a second rounder.
And he might not be a second rounder. He might have snuck into a first round pick. And I think, and look, that goes to the advantage of the Flames to get a guy who may have first round talent in the second round. And a lot of times it's about finding value. Once you get beyond that first round, when you kind of have a clear idea as to who you want in that first round, rounds 2 to 7 to me are all about finding value. It's about finding guys that over time you feel like could fit your system and could be very, very good moving forward. And look, there are guys throughout the NHL that are not top 2 or top 3 round picks that are tremendous, right? I think Nikita Kucherov is a good example of that. He wasn't a first round pick. At least not to my knowledge, he was a first round pick. Jesper Bratt, 6th round pick of the New Jersey Devils, now a top 6 guy. This is just kind of like what I'm talking about. Like there's like not, and granted, Bosch is a little bit different because he was a 2nd round pick, but at the same time, like not a lot of people know about him until now. Even Flames fans are just getting used to finding out who this guy is. And this is a guy that really, really wants to make this team out of camp. Now, I don't think that ends up happening because, again, he is very, very young and has no.
Well, he was already sent back, so.
Right. And that's kind of the way I look at it. Like, don't be surprised. I don't know how many more years of eligibility he has left, but don't be surprised, Kyle, if there comes a point where maybe they consider bringing him to the AHL. I don't know. Maybe towards the end of the year, like we saw with Honzek. That's the way
they'll probably bring him to camp next year, and they'll see how it goes. And that's the thing. If he has a really good year in the WHL here, he's going to play pro minutes next year, probably for the Wranglers.
Absolutely.
Just to see how it goes. So yeah, just a little tidbit there, and congrats for Basha getting that nice little entry level contract. But yeah, let's take a bit of a break here, and I'll rip through these sponsors. TD Toddy in for the 6 touchdowns matter more. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We don't care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns, and DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering. If you're ready to place your first bet, try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Mine didn't work out again this weekend, but shocker. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook app, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. The show is also sponsored by BetterHelp. Is there something that you love to learn as an adult? Do you make time to learn new things as often as you like? Or was that kind of lost in your childhood? Therapy can help reconnect with your sense of wonder because your back to school era can come at any age. If you benefit from therapy, you can also learn more positive coping skills from it as well, how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. And it isn't for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just have to fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN. All right, let's get into tonight's game. We got 3 more preseason games to go at home against the Seattle Kraken here. I'm going to bring up the lineup that Mr. Pat Steinberg was very kind enough to put up, as he still does a sensational job on his end. But here is some of the projected lineups for tonight. We mentioned Honzek earlier. He's going to get a really, really good opportunity tonight to showcase his skills further. He's playing alongside Nazem Kadri and Andrei Kuzmenko. We mentioned Pelletier earlier. He's got to find a way to, start to showcase for himself why he deserves to be on this roster. He's going to be playing with Backlund and Coleman here. Huberdeau, Sharangovich, and they're going to try it with Coronado tonight. They kind of, in my eyes, I feel like Huberdeau's still going to end up with Anthony Mantha at the end of the day. But again, they're just trying some different things here. And the fourth line again here, you have Lombard and Klapka on that fourth line. And again, trying something different here with AHL or Sam Wharton here. He's had a good preseason so far. Probably a guy that ends up in the AHL and might be one of those final cuts, but we'll see. Uyghur partnered up again with Miromanov. You're going to have Soliev, who again has had a decent preseason so far. He's going to be playing alongside Anderson, might try to fight for that sixth and final spot. And same thing here, Tyson Barrie playing alongside Braden Paschal to try and showcase what he has left on this PTO. Daniel Ladar will be playing these full 60 minutes tonight with Devin Cooley to back it up. Thoughts on the lineup for tonight?
I really want to keep my eye on the Huberdeau, Sharangovich, Coronado third line because honestly, that might actually be a very interesting line because you have 3 different players who bring 3 different types of things. Huberdeau, I feel like, is considered more of a pass first type of guy. Sharangovich as a center is interesting because he has gotten better on the faceoff dock, and he also is more of the goal scorer. Coronado's kind of a little bit of a two-way guy. I like that third line a lot. I'm not, and like you mentioned, it's unlikely that that's a line you see once the regular season gets underway, but I want to keep my eye on that because I feel like it could be something that might be pretty significant. And I think also when you're looking at this, you're looking at both Honzek and Pelletier on that top 6.
Yeah.
That makes me lean more towards Kyle that both of those guys probably don't make the team out of camp. And I only say that because I think they're trying to give both of these guys, maybe more Pelletier than Honzek, an opportunity to see how they fit, with top NHL guys and giving them high minutes here before they, move them on. But nonetheless, I'm excited to see what Honzek could do along Kuzmenko because I think that those two guys play very well. I think this is the second game that Honzek and Kuzmenko have played together on the same line, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was the second or third. It was the second or third game they played together for a couple of minutes, which I like. Overall, good. I think it's a solid lineup. Coleman and Backlund on that second line, kind of expected. Barrie and Paschal on that bottom third pairing. Yeah, somebody got to do something. One of them got to do something. Anything positive.
It's funny how they're paired together, but they are fighting for that sixth spot, right?
Which could be good. Which could be good because they're pushing each other to be better. Because again, with a lot of guys, when you're on a pairing as a defenseman, you're only as good as your line mate, honestly.
Your counterpart.
Your partner.
Totally.
So I think that's the way I look at it. Miromanov with Uyghur is good. I like that a
lot. Ever since the Flames have acquired Miromanov, they've stuck him with Mackenzie Uyghur. And it was kind of working by the end of the year. It's funny because it's just an odd pairing. Miromanov, much taller, a little more, I don't want to say lankier, but it's just an odd pairing. It's not one that you normally see. Sure. Fair enough. It's just not one that you normally see, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall, though, I just think that, you're giving the guys, you're now giving Honzek, Peltier, include Coronado there. If you want to include Morton too as well, just in that forward group, they're going to get another really good opportunity tonight, to showcase whatever they have left to try to get onto this team. And then one name too, again, that just kind of has been under the radar a little bit has been Soliev here. Soliev, I think I mispronounced that. And he's again decent preseason so far. He's put up a couple of points here and there. He's more of an offensive defenseman on his end. He's probably going to play some AHL minutes, but who knows? If injury galore could happen this season, he's going to be a guy that you might end up seeing more come to the season. So we'll kind of learn more about him.
Would have played tonight.
You would think. I think
this is the second game in a row that he doesn't play. He did not play in the last game.
Might be out with an injury. I think Kevin Ball is still recovering from an injury as well.
They're taking it slow for sure.
They're not going to risk it here with Ball. They kind of know where he's going to be, and I think they've had him through training camp, and they know they have an idea of where they want to put him. So, and then again,
if we acquire him for Markstrom, he better be playing.
He will. Yeah. Don't you worry about
it. And he does. What's funny with Kevin Ball, Kyle, is that he ends up automatically having some of the most experience / playoff experience of players on the back end. Like obviously you have Mackenzie Weegar and Anderson, but and obviously Barry, unless Barry doesn't make the team, but Kevin Ball has been in the playoffs. He's been in the NHL for a couple of years. It was good to finally see him on the ice. I think that was important.
Totally. And then the goaltending battle continues, right? Like Vladar, he's gonna.
Not much of a battle tonight, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean
Vladar straight up 60.
He is, yeah. So that was confirmed. He's going to play a full 60 tonight. Cooley's going to back up. I want to see Devin Cooley. I need a game out of him.
I need a full game from Devin Cooley. I need a full 60. And I'm hoping that it's one of these last two games after tonight. I'm hoping that it's one of those two because he needs it. Even if he doesn't make the team out of camp, he needs it.
Totally. I want to see Cooley. So you got 3 games left. You'll have Vladar tonight. I want to see. I think what will happen is Cooley will play one, and then Vladar will play another. I think Wolf's preseason's pretty much done. I think he's good. Wolf's fine. I think he's done. I think he's going to get ready for game 1. I think he's getting ready for Vancouver, and that's good. And then who knows? We'll kind of go from there. But this is still a battle for backup, and I'm excited to see. And I really can't wait to see Cooley. I really want to see Cooley. I think they play Edmonton soon, and then I think they play. I think they play Winnipeg. I think as well too in the preseason.
Winnipeg, they play. Obviously, they play tonight, and then on Wednesday they're in they're in Winnipeg.
Yeah,
and then they finish up with one more game against Winnipeg again.
On Thursday or Friday?
On Friday.
Friday. Okay. So we'll be able to see what happens tonight and then on Wednesday.
This is what I look at it. Give me Cooley against Winnipeg on Wednesday.
Yep.
And then give me
Vladar if McDavid and Draisaitl are in the lineup on Friday.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, that's gonna be the lineups for tonight, and we'll definitely break it down again on Thursday as we'll probably learn more news as to guys not making the team, rosters kind of pulling together a little bit. And yes, kind of speaking of which here, one of our kind of last topics for today. For you, if you can tell me one surprise pick that makes this roster and one surprise pick that doesn't make the cut come day one, who would you pick? I'll go first. This is more of outlandish scenarios here.
Sure, go ahead.
I really like Hunter Brustevich, man. I really do. I don't think he finds a way onto the roster, so it's kind of a cop-out answer, but I really hope he plays this year. So I think for a guy that I think will make it is I think, man, it depends what Honzek does this week, man. If he brings it tonight and he's going to be playing with Kadri and Kuzmenko and they found something, then I think there's a chance that he might even compete with Coronado here in the last couple of days to make this roster. But I think it's still a touch early, so not going to be a surprise pick here. I'm going to have Coronado making this team come day one. And my pick that I think is going to miss, it's not big here by any means. I don't know. I feel like I look on defense here. I don't know about Miromanov, man. I don't know.
Ooh,
They're trying to make it work here with Uyghur. I think he plays. It's very outlandish here.
yeah,
Grushnikov was another name that was acquired in that Cristana trade a
yep,
while back. He's been playing pretty good in the preseason. So, it's kind of tough to pick like surprising ones because like we've
sure,
talked about already of like who's making it, who doesn't.
sure.
So I'm going to stick with what I said earlier. I'm going to say Pelletier doesn't make this team, and I think Coronado finds a way on this roster. I'm going to keep it simple here.
Yeah.
Anything for you?
I mean, my bold take would be Honzek makes the team out of camp because I think he
Mm,
played that well. I think he's
right.
played well for the, and I think there's a world where you could have Honzek and Coronado on the team. I think there's a world where you could make that work. Um, the problem with
Problem
that
is well, where do you put Martin Pospisil? That's the
that's
problem.
the problem. But Pospisil is another guy that maybe you look at and say, is he going to be here the whole season? This is just
You would hope. Yeah, you would hope.
I'm just speculating, but like
We're
that,
just
that's
we're just spitballing here.
just spitball. It's tough. It's tough because I think we're at the point of camp where there isn't going. I don't think there'll be a shocking cut unless it's like Coronado. Like he
That
would
would
be
be
the one
surprising.
guy I would be like,
That
well, what could
would
he
be
have possibly done better that gives him the opportunity? Um,
totally.
so I'll say Honzek. In terms of surprise cut, that's the problem. There's nobody really left that I would like. I can't say Cooley because Cooley wasn't expected to make the team. I mean, if Ladar gets cut, that would be shocking, but I doubt it.
I doubt it because of his cap hit. I don't think they want
With
to
his
stick.
cap hit, and also again, there is still value with him.
Yeah,
There is because it
there
wasn't
is.
again, like I mentioned last week. It wasn't just Markstrom that was getting calls. There
It was
were
Vladar.
teams that talked about. It didn't get far, but talking about Ladar. Maybe Tyson.
Which is why, like, as much as I want Cooley to play, I want Vladar to get, going to the deadline. I want to see 20 games out of him, right? And if he's
Right.
showcasing that he can be a
Yeah.
sufficient backup player for somebody who needs
Right.
it come playoff time, we talked about it already. Then that
And you
might
can always
happen.
bring Cooley up after the deadline
Sure.
to just back up.
Whatever. If he gets like, you can be picky about what you want to get from Vladar, but
Right.
the point is that you're going to get something. I
Yeah.
think that's crucial to say too. But
In terms
yeah,
of surprise cut, I don't know. Tyson Berry, maybe from a veteran perspective. I don't know. Like it.
PTO. Speaking of PTO,
PTO, yeah,
Mike Hoffman's off from Edmonton. He's PTO.
yeah.
PTO is done. I don't know if he makes this team, man. I don't know if Barry makes this team.
He's been disappointing. But again,
Yeah.
PTO. So like, are we really losing much?
No, God no.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like Mike Hoffman. I think I expected more out, but maybe I don't know. Maybe the games just kind of passed him by. He's not really the same player that he once was.
It's possible. It's
But
possible. Still get it.
it's yeah. It's hospital.
Yeah. Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, let's get podcast merch and just have that as a shirt. So anything
Oh,
possible.
God. Well,
There is no surprise cut. From
Nah,
being honest,
Stop.
Coronado would be the most surprising,
It would.
and that's as far as I'll go. Other than that, I can't see a world where
I think a lot of Flames fans would agree. I think that's kind of
it's good. It's honestly good that like the team for the most part is set, because then you don't have all these questions. But there are going to be some hard decisions to be made over the next 48 to 60 plus hours here.
And one last thing that we're kind of forgetting. If they decide that Honzek has a really good week coming up and they decide to put him on an opening night roster, they'll probably give him that 10-game test.
The window.
Right.
Yeah.
The window that they do with a lot of guys.
Yeah.
It's something that's kind of overlooked, right?
Yeah.
So it happened with Coronado. I think it happened with Zari too, and he stuck around, but they might even give him a test. So who knows? I don't think that's outlandish to say. Yeah.
Can't hurt.
Well, that's I was going to say we can wrap it up today, but wanted to kind of touch upon big night coming up Wednesday night. Big night. We got our THPN Fantasy League coming back. Worth nothing, by the way. No
Worth
buy-ins.
nothing. There is
absolutely nothing. So
are we doing updates on the show? Is that what we're going to do?
Well, we can.
At
Well,
the end
because
of it,
okay, so
I'm thinking of this. At the end of each episode, or like not like every episode, but like every other,
we'll bring it
we
up.
do like a recap of like how did the week go for
If I'm
us?
not mistaken, I think we faced off in that third place game.
It was the third
Last
place
year.
game, and I think you won. If my memory serves.
I thought you won it actually. I think you won it
I
like the
don't
last
remember.
minute.
I don't
But for
remember.
context for everybody listening, we had 20 people in the league. And it went down. We wanted to bring it down just to 16 because I think there was
We're at
just some
16 this year. We
lives
have
are
one
busy.
more spot to fill, but we're gonna get it filled one way or the other.
And the craziest thing that happened last year was at the very beginning when I think I had the number 2 pick out of the 20, right?
Yeah.
And McDavid didn't go number 1.
Right, he didn't go number 1.
And it was I don't know who picked him.
I think it was Kucherov that went 1.
No, you know what? I thought it was Draisaitl that went 1.
Oh no, it was Draisaitl. Yeah, somebody went Draisaitl. Yeah, that was
1. And then I'm sitting there number 2 going, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, good start. Good start.
And it turns out McDavid had a better year than Draisaitl.
Yeah.
But so I'll bring it to you because I want to know.
Also, what is your team name again? Do you have one yet?
Yeah, I do. It's
wait. I saw one.
Give the funny names. I look up on Reddit just to see.
No, I saw one, and I swear someone had Timu
Salami.
Yeah, and that's you, right? Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's
I like funny names, so I go with that one.
I'm thinking I gotta think of something. I usually wait till my team's drafted, and then I just go off of someone that I have on the team.
Reddit.
So that's how we go about it.
Go on Reddit. It's gonna be your best friend. In a big league like this, because we have 16 this year, we kind of even, right? You split it in half, 8 make the playoffs, and you're done. Coming to the draft Wednesday night, where would you rather pick? Do you want it's a snake draft, so you can be early on and then don't pick until later on.
Yeah.
Or do you want to be at like mushy middle? Do you want to be like at the end where you get 2 back-to-back picks? Like, what do you think?
It's tough. I would prefer to be in the 8 and 9 range. So like right in the middle, because you're always getting the same pick for more or less. So like if you pick 8, you're picking 9th next round. Like nothing changes.
Yeah.
Nothing changes. So like, yeah, it's awesome to get the first overall pick, right?
Yeah.
But I often argue that if you're in the middle, you can make so many different plans for how you draft. Because you could just watch people have to make those tougher decisions.
Yep.
And then you just kind of take whatever they got. I feel like the later in the draft you are, the more you go off of best player available. Maybe not necessarily. And that could be the same thing said in a way for like an actual draft in sports, that you may just honestly at times go with best player available, which is never really a bad strategy to go up against unless you have a need, which I get.
Right.
I don't be surprised if in the first 16 picks, between 8 to 10 starting goalies get taken.
8 to 10?
That's my prediction. My prediction is 8 to 10 goalies. Yes.
Wow.
I think people are going to look at it like
you have that goalie system, right? Like you have the 2 goalie system.
It's a 2 goalie system with 1 start. I think we have 1 start. Yeah, we have 1 starter.
Yeah, but I mean, with that, like you kind of have to relate it to football a little bit, where your starting goaltender is probably like your quarterback, right?
Yeah, because it gets you the most, because you get the most points from a goaltender. Because think about it, with a goaltender, you're getting points for saves, you're getting points for a shutout, a win, things like that. So like you're getting 3 different like ways of like getting, and that could be and also like if they're not playing, like that's a tough look as well. That might be the reason you don't win that week.
It'll be interesting. I mean, you might be right.
To everybody, if you can't set your lineup every day, find a way to do the automatic thing. I tell people, set your lineup for the week on that Monday. Set it up the whole week.
Go with it.
And then just go with it. Because 9 times out of 10, it works out.
And then me like last minute at like 6:58 before a game starts, you'll get like a notification where like, I don't know, Kreider's out and he's on your lineup and you're like, shit.
Yeah, and you have no time to make a choice. You have no time to make a change. So you just pick it. That's what I'm saying. So
maybe maybe on Thursday we'll look at our lineups.
We'll show our lineups, and
We'll show
maybe,
our
maybe
lineups.
we'll make a post on Twitter about which team do the Flames
through.
fans like more.
Yeah, and we'll see if we end up with any Flames players who are probably going to be super
Well,
low.
okay. So, like, who would be like the obvious guys? I guess
Who's going to be the first pick? Oh, that's a good question. Who would be first from Calgary?
Dustin Wolf. Maybe Dustin
Kuzmenko.
Wolf.
I think Kuzmenko.
I was thinking Kuzmenko.
Yeah.
Huberdeau's
Wolf,
like 12.
because of the goaltending system. Actually, yeah, Wolf could.
I'll put Kuzmenko though. If Kuzmenko's not picked within the first 3 rounds, then people are not watching.
Oh no, you know who it's going to be? Mackenzie Weegar.
Yeah, makes sense. Defenseman and all that. Yeah,
Weegs is going to go. Yeah,
but
yeah,
I would argue there's a lot of defensemen that are going to get picked before Mackenzie Weegar.
fair, but you still need to fill up the fence, right?
The question is, who's going to forget that Drew Doughty is out? Like,
oh no, they'll put him on IR. No, they'll have.
No, I'm just saying, don't be surprised if someone accidentally picks like a panic move and it just takes Drew Doughty.
And how many auto picks and see how long we're going to be sitting there for again.
Oh, jeez. Should I make it 30 seconds? Really piss off people? You have 30 seconds to make a choice. I could. We have to remember, you can change it in the middle of the draft.
Yeah, so like halfway through.
Later rounds, I could be a jerk and just be like, you have 30 seconds. Make a pick or don't.
Just do it. I would do it.
Because remember, in fantasy hockey, it's all about depth.
Always.
It's all about depth. Get as much value as you can. Just like the Flames. Get as much value as you can.
Get the value. And that's how we're
That's our rallying cry for the year, Kyle, is get the value.
Get the value. Absolutely. That's going to wrap us up today, though, for episode number 3. Hopefully, we don't have to do too many more of these before the season gets underway. I think we have like 2 more episodes, I think, before we finally get some action going. Who knows? More news might break in the next week or so. We'll see what happens. But as I'm getting like score notifications now on my phone, and I'm like, is that hockey news? But it's not. But
No.
Yeah, anyway, that'll wrap it up today. We'll be back on Thursday. We'll recap tonight's game. We'll recap what happens on Wednesday against the Oilers and any more cuts and news that will go our way. For myself and Neil, thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will see you all again on Thursday. Have a great day, everybody.